Now, Jane is on the line in Kilkenny. Jane, why did you get in contact with us today?
Hi, Andrea.
How are you?
I got in touch because I'm having trouble with travel insurance through Aer Lingus. At the beginning of June, I booked a trip to New York for December of this year for myself and 3 friends. The only reason we were comfortable booking this trip was because Aer Lingus were offering COVID-19 insurance to cover most eventualities with regard to cancellation, repatriation, etc. You know, many of the policies that are out there specifically state that COVID is not covered. So, you know, This was a good policy to have. On booking, I opted to pay the insurance. However, when the transaction was complete, I got a message to say that they could not process the insurance. Therefore, only the amount for the flights was deducted from my card. I'm quite a seasoned traveller, so I knew that I could go into the booking and opt to take the insurance separately, like you can add a bag or whatever. Yeah. I went through all the steps, including authorisation from my bank, and at the final stage, I get a pop-up saying, we are experiencing a problem with our system. If the error persists, please contact us. So, you know, the problem was with Aer Lingus. So I contacted them, and it's very difficult to get onto them at the moment. The waiting time is around an hour. But the first time they said, you know, to keep trying, that, you know, the system issue would be resolved and to try using a different credit card. And if that didn't work, to write to them on the website. So at this stage, I've tried, it's in the double digits, well in 10, 12, 14 times to make this booking. I've used 4 different credit cards. And I've written to them on the website on the 3rd of July, got no response, and then I wrote to them again in August.
Okay, and this is, you wanted to take this out, Jane, because, as you said, like if you're planning a trip and, you know, given the restrictions that we've had and that have come and gone and due to ease and all of that, this policy was going to suit you.
Absolutely, and to be honest, Andrea, I mean, if the US doesn't open up and we can't go on this trip, I'm still not sure we're covered for that. You know, so there is some risks around it, but we certainly wouldn't have made the booking with no insurance, so it was a must.
Okay, so you started the communication with Aer Lingus back in July. We're now into the middle of September. I take it you haven't got any further though?
No, I actually started the conversations with them. I wrote to them in July, but there were several phone calls before then. I've got nowhere with them. My last call to them, you know, the mantra that they trot out every time I speak to them is, try again, try a different card, and we can't process insurance over the phone. But the last time I spoke to them, I asked, well, could I speak to his manager? Because I work in customer service, so I know there is always an escalation point.
Yeah.
And after 3 phone calls and no resolution, and the system problem being on their side, I would have thought this was one that would be escalated. But he refused to do that, and we got nowhere. So I wasn't sure then whether this was some sort of a con by Aer Lingus, where they were attracting people to the website and then not processing insurance.
I wouldn't think that. And I should say as well, we've got in contact with Aer Lingus. I mean, if it's a policy that they have, I'm sure it's there and, you know, and legitimately, genuinely there for sale. But look, as you said, you know, you haven't been able to buy it at the moment. They're a reputable company. I'm sure it's there and available. Let me bring in Eoghan Corry as well. Jane owns the editor of Air and Travel magazine. Do you have any idea why Jane mightn't be able to purchase this policy that's available?
Good afternoon, Jane. Good afternoon, Andrea. This comes obviously with the caveat that listeners are very well used to, that I don't know enough about the specifics of the case, but I can talk in the generality of what's been happening in the insurance business post-COVID. First of all, the policy will not be with Aer Lingus. It'll be with a supplier that Aer Lingus has chosen. So if there are difficulties with a payment going through that goes through to Aer Lingus and doesn't go through to the supplier, that reflects probably a complication or a breakdown within Aer Lingus's computer system, which is something that is not for the weak-hearted to start with. It's a sort of a wedding together of different systems from different eras. there may be something else going on here, that the policy that Jane is trying to buy doesn't fit in with what's being sold by the supplier, because since COVID, the specific COVID policies, travel insurance policies, and they don't belong in your common or garden annual policy. There was an initial reaction on March the 17th of panic in the insurance business, where they all took COVID off their policy. What I saw then in April and May was people coming in with COVID specific policies, and the terms and conditions of those, two very important numbers: 14 days before if you are diagnosed with COVID, or 28 days before if you're hospitalised with COVID, you're entitled to cancellation. But it's very limited after that. Another person on the same booking, you're entitled to cancellation, but being a contact is not enough. So what I'm looking at is a very tight set of circumstances for those COVID-specific policies, and it may well be that the booking isn't being processed because of the information that they have. I'm only speculating here, as I say. The specifics are a little bit beyond me. One advice for Jane and for everyone else in the situation: the quickest way to get a response from Aer Lingus is a direct tweet, and then you generally get somebody who, if they don't know how to solve the problem, they will start working out who is the best person to unravel it. COVID policies are a bit complicated, is the summary of what I've just been saying, really, Andrea.
You'll have to get on Twitter, so Jane.
Yeah, I actually, since you took up the story and your team contacted Aer Lingus, I got a message just 5 minutes before we spoke to say that they had logged on using my details, and they could request insurance, and it seemed to be going through fine.
Okay.
So I tried it again while I was waiting for you, and it's the same. It's the same error message. So
okay, same problem again.
As the CCPC say, if it's not some sort of a con, as I accept it's not.
It's definitely not, no.
Okay. Well, look, we'll keep on it. We'll get back on to Aer Lingus so for you, Jane. See if we can find out how you can buy this particular policy. Jane, thanks a million for getting in touch with us. Eoghan Corry, editor of Air and Travel magazine. Thanks for giving us some advice here on Lunchtime Live today.
Always a pleasure.
Lunchtime Live at newstalk.com.